This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Time now for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World, which is located on US 1 at Orange Avenue in the Crass Plaza, formerly known as the Arcade Building. And now, here's your host, the one and only Joanne Seeger.
There could be someone else in the world with my name. We really don't know that.
Well, I don't know. I keep on thinking Bob. Is that your uncle? Or
Nope. I have a huge family, so who knows? Oh, Bob Seeger. Oh, gosh. I am so slow to that joke. All right.
I bet you get that from everybody.
Yes, my husband and I have that in common. We're really slow to figure out jokes. It's like everyone else is laughing, but we don't get it.
I get caught like that once in a while, huh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Happy Thursday, everyone. I hope everyone's having an incredible morning. And for us locals, I hope we're enjoying this little breeze of fresh air. There is, I know, bad weather other places, so I hope everyone's staying safe and warm and cozy with people they love and having a joyful day. But today is definitely a great day for me because I have one of my favorite guests on.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, I can say he's a regular now, so I feel like we're becoming good friends on air. All right, so without further ado, let's welcome Burt back on the show. Good morning, Burt. Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Good morning.
Oh, I love your cheery voice. You're so positive. It's so awesome. That's why I love having you on my show. I don't like any negative Nancys on. They're not allowed. I ban it, yes. I'll be like the soup Nazi. Stay away from my show. Oh, so Burt, let's get done with all the logistics of it. So Burt Goulding Jr., clinical nutritionist, California, owns Positive Power Nutrition, an amazing company that, of course, I sell some of his amazing products. He has so many, and I take them myself and I have now for a long time. So you definitely want pen and paper because every time, I sincerely mean this, Burt teaches me something new. So you definitely want to pay attention. But Burt, you ready to do a Happy New Year breathing exercise?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So we're going to do 3 rounds, okay? And we're going to keep it the same way we always did for 2021. So newbies, welcome to the show. This is super simple, but super important, okay? So we're going to exhale out drama, negativity, stress, nervous tension, whatever doesn't feel right. And we're going to inhale through our nose only for 5, hold for 5, exhale only using our nose for 5. Okay, so if you're at the comfort of your home or a place that you can close your eyes, maybe tap your fingertips, really let's get into this together so we can calm our body down, relax our blood pressure, and just feel better. All right, here we go.
All right, let's release all negativity. It's all gone. Now begin slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. One more time. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you very much, sir. Burt, how do you feel?
I feel good.
Awesome. Yeah, with my clients now, I'm really emphasizing to do that exercise like 3 times a day. I can't believe I have to call it an exercise, but yes, breathing as exercise. So how was your holidays and your Happy New Year? How did it go?
It went really well. My wife and I have, as you know, 10 children, and they're all adults now.
I always have to take a deep breath when you say that statement. Okay.
Well, and so this was the year we tried to coordinate it so that we get everybody every other year, and then there was the in-laws the other year, or so this was the year for everyone to be here.
That's awesome. That must have been a real big gathering. Now, how many grandchildren do you have?
12.
12. Wow. 10 kids, 12 grandkids. That's amazing. God, that's so good. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think I told you, but I'm going to be a grandma at the end of April, the first time. Yeah, so I'm
wonderful.
super excited. I can't wait. Oh, it's going to be a little girl. Super excited.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right. So I think our mission for this show, Burt, is going to help the listeners understand basic health, basic principles, and how the body is incredible, and never to give up on it, and just if you give it the right things, that it can restore itself. So how about that? You like it?
Yes.
All right, cool. So you know me, I want you to do the talking because you really have a lot of insight and a clinical experience. So do you want to start with pH? You start and let me know where I can interject.
Well, yeah, when it comes to pH, especially right now, it's interesting to see how that connects to all of the flus going around. The NIH has an article about how every type of COVID virus causes acidosis in the body.
That's
Isn't that interesting?
And that makes sense because as you've taught me and you've been saying all along, you want acid in certain parts to do its job, but not in the other parts. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that this was a study that came out of Eastern Europe and out of Russia, where they've done a lot more studies on COVID. And we're looking at this thinking, we've been telling people this for 25 years, that the number one switch as far as health in the human body is pH balance. So 90% of all illness is related to being out of balance when it comes to your pH. So as you know, Joanne, we talk about how we should be measuring our pH of the clear fluids of the body. So we do that with a fasting saliva test. And when we do that, first thing in the morning, by fasting, it just has to be 3 hours since your last food or beverage. So rather than trying to think that you've got it right sometime in the middle of the day to take that test, I just encourage people to do it when they first wake up in the morning, before they eat or drink anything, before they brush their teeth, is to go ahead and salivate, put that saliva into a plastic picnic spoon, and then use a clinical-grade test strip to test the saliva.
Now, Burt, I still get some people that question the saliva being more accurate than the urine. Could you take a second to kind of clarify about the differences, and also like using the strips that, like the ones you have are wonderful, versus like pH paper and the things that they might find at a drugstore?
Yeah, to me that's one of the most important things is to understand that when you test the urine, you're testing what your body is eliminating and getting rid of. So your urine may be very, very, very acidic, but that doesn't mean your body is. It just means that your kidneys are working well and you're getting rid of that acidity.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect.
With the saliva, if you don't put it into a spoon, what do you do with it? You swallow it. So it becomes a part of, it stays as a part of your body. And it turns out that it's representative of all of the clear fluids in the body, which make up 56% of our body weight. And urine, even if you have a full bladder, only makes up less than 2% of your body weight. So, it just isn't representative. It's if you're testing something that is more than half of your physical being, that's going to be correct. Now, why do so many people think that urine is it? Because there's over 100 different books on pH balancing that all point to testing urine. And I don't know who started it, but nobody else has really stopped to verify it. I mean, I did, because that's what I did in my graduate courses in nutrition. I focused on pH, that I had no idea that it was as important as it is until we started seeing what happens when a person gets properly pH balanced. All of these illnesses that we just take as a part of modern life, modern society, will disappear once the body has the proper balance of alkaloids and acids. So, if you want the proper electrical flow, you need to have a test, again, with pH test strips. Again, not a roll of litmus paper. Now, a roll of litmus paper where you unroll it and tear off a piece and then use that to test for acid or alkaline or acid or base, that's wonderful for like a 7th grade science project. But when it comes to your own health, and if you're serious about being healthy, you need to have what they would use at a lab or in a doctor's office. So you would use a test strip. It used to be that we just recommended and sold everybody else's test strips until there was a point where all of the regular test strips had been forced out of business about 12 or 13 years ago. I had been going on television. I was out in a studio in Burbank and went on a half-hour television show that went out to the entire U.S. as well as 12 other countries. And in it, we were showing people how to test their saliva pH and how to use pH test strips. That was before we started manufacturing our own because they were available. But we found that within 3 weeks after that television show, because basically we said, 90% of all disease that's ever been given a name or ever cataloged will clear up and go away once you're pH balanced. So I think that was probably pretty scary for some people that depend on their livelihood and
they went and ran and get
sickness.
some test strips.
Yeah, and so what happened was, it turned out, we found out that all of the factories worldwide that sold or manufactured pH test strips were all bought quietly for cash, boarded up, and all the employees fired. So we finally had to start from scratch and get those back out. This is such a powerful concept that if everyone in the United States were pH balanced, the ability to survive whatever flus or colds come along is just huge. And so if you go out to the National Institute of Health at nih.gov and look up pH balance and COVID-19, a big worldwide research report, it's explaining in the summary, is so powerful what it says about, that both the virus and the vaccine both cause the body to go into more of an acid state. And with that acid state, it leads towards thickness of the blood and blood clots. It also reduces the ability of the lungs to bring in oxygen and let go of the carbon dioxide. So when people feel like, I'm suffocating with the different viruses that we've been suffering with over the past 2 or 3 years, so much of that is pH balance related. So first thing you want to do is start testing your pH on a weekly basis. Just once a week, first thing in the morning. It only takes 2 or 3 minutes. You want to do it week after week. But, I've had people that know how to get balanced, but they don't, and eventually gets them. I have a really good friend who knew exactly how to test his pH, and he did it for a long time, but then he stopped doing it. We get busy, and then a week passes, and then 2 weeks passes, and then several months, and the next thing you know, here's a young guy, a little bit younger than I am, and he has a massive stroke, which shuts down the left side of his body, and he's in a wheelchair. Oh. And it's because strokes and heart attacks only occur in the human body when we're in the acid range and when it falls so low that our fasting saliva pH would be somewhere below 5.5 or 5. And it's supposed to be between 7.1 and 7.5. But when it gets to that area...
And that's the yellow color, right, Burt? That
yeah.
is yellow?
Yep.
Okay. Because we wanted like a blue-green, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And if it even gets in the orange color, that's where it's down at 5 or below. And you test it once a week because you want just a snapshot, and you don't want to stress out, and you can't force it. I mean, if anything else, testing your pH once a week will also help teach us to be patient.
Right.
Patient with our body, because our body will balance, but you can't just, if you, with the the advent of pharmaceutical drugs, people were no longer patient. It's like, hey, I've got a headache. I want it to be gone in the next 5 minutes, so I'm going to take something.
Right, without worrying about the side effects. Burt, can I go back 1 second? Because what you're saying is really huge news, especially to me. The NIH, is there a date to go along with that information? So if someone's searching, because I know sometimes it's a little tricky to search for their articles, but is there a date that goes along with that? Do you know what it is? Okay.
And I'm trying to bring that up again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on purpose, but I find that it's harder to find the good news, some of the information. But that is a huge statement that you made, and I know that even way before COVID, you as well as many amazing of my mentors would say that you want the body to just be in the right pH. It's not about getting too alkaline. It's just having the acidity where it needs and just keeping the body at the right pH. And
this is how recent it is. The published online date is 31st of August 2021. So they had plenty of time, a year and a half to look at COVID. It's called,
that's good. Okay.
It was published originally in Biology magazine, and it's called The Role of Acidosis and the Pathogenesis of Severe Forms of COVID-19. So they're not talking about the mild forms, but it's really interesting because in the simple summary, it says, recently several studies have shown that acidosis, which is increased acidity in the blood and other body tissues, is often associated with severe COVID-19. In this article, we look at the mechanisms and consequences of acidosis that can lead to an exacerbation of COVID-19. We want to draw the attention of readers to the threshold values of such disease characteristics as hypoxia and acidosis, which are associated with a sharp deterioration of the patient's condition. So what they're saying with hypoxia is that this lack of oxygen that have caused people all across the country in every state, at least in the early months of the pandemic, to be put on ventilators, right? Hypoxia is low oxygen. Now, what we've said for the longest time is that, low oxygen does not mean that air's not getting to the lungs. It means that the lungs are not functioning in an overacidic state, and it's not able to grab the oxygen from the air. So having a ventilator and forcing more air into a person's lungs, how is that going to? It would be like saying, there's really no vitamins in the food you're eating, so we're just going to shovel it in your mouth as fast as we possibly can.
Gotcha.
And that's going to help you. And it doesn't. So this simple summary is not that long, but it says hypoxia and acidosis mutually reinforce each other, according to the principle of a vicious cycle. That is, they are involved in a system of positive feedbacks. Elevated blood lactate or lactic acid levels are associated with poor clinical outcomes in COVID patients. As a practical recommendation, we propose we pay more attention to the prevention of acidosis, including in the early stages of the disease when the adjustment of homeostasis requires less effort and is less risky. That's the entire simple summary part of the abstract. So what we're talking about is, this is a huge, huge study, and things don't get published on National Institute of Health without, it talks about how many different people had to do peer reviews before they would even let this see the light of day.
Yep, exactly. Burt, this is
huge. Now we've been talking about this for 25 years, saying get pH balance, get pH balance. Instead, all it takes is misinformation out there. For those that would like to see the world ill, for whatever reason, whether it's a profit motive or whatever it is, first what you would do is say, oh no, pH balance, that's a bunch of, crazy people coming up with that. It's not important. But after a while, the average person goes, no, I think it is important. There's just something inside of your soul that says, no, I think it's important. So then the only way to throw people off, if that's your goal, is that you then start producing, well, this is how you would test your pH. And, if you're testing urine pH, okay, mission accomplished. You've now thrown people off. They will never, ever, by testing your urine pH, be able to become pH balanced. if you're not pH balanced, what it's saying here is that the acidosis, which is found in 95% of all adults in the U.S. and adolescents, so 95% of the entire
95%
are in the
Wow.
acid state. Okay, there's only 4%. So for a person who tests themselves on a weekly basis, and they're consistently, at least 2 weeks in a row, but consistently in that pH balanced range of 7.1 to 7.5, first thing in the morning on that fasting saliva, if you're consistently in that, you're already in the top 4%. I know some natural practitioners and some health food stores are actually starting a 4% club because, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be in the top 4% of health-wise people in the country. And it starts with testing your pH. Because if you don't know where you're at and you don't know what you're doing on a regular basis, if you're testing it on a regular basis and you go, hey, yeah, my pH is improving, it's getting better, and then all of a sudden 1 week it's not improving, what do you automatically do? You start looking back to your last week. Okay, what have I done this last week that's different? Right? Isn't that what we all do?
Right. Yep. Or last
but
night.
But you have to have a regular test, and you don't have to stand in line at the doctor's office or at the hospital to go in and get it. I mean, they will do a saliva pH test for you. I have medical doctors here in Southern California that they won't even see the patient or talk to them until they've completed their saliva pH test, and that the nurses recorded it on the form, and then they'll be able to go back and see the doctor. It is so important, because if you don't know what that is, then you're chasing things around and around. I've had people just recently, quite a few people that say, oh yeah, I think you have pneumonia, or they'll go to the emergency room, I think you have double pneumonia. No, not really. I mean, try to see a specialist. Don't just take the word of somebody in the emergency room. They're doing the best they can. They're overworked. So what you want to do is see a specialist and find out what that really is. But if you know that you have acidity in the clear fluids of your body, those are the fluids that go all through the lung tissue. Because if you have dry lungs, then you're really not able to do that carbon dioxide oxygen exchange.
Burt, this is intense information. Now I really hope everyone has their pens out. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come right back to you, Burt. Hold on. Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We will have chiropractors, naturopaths, coaches, and of course, Dr. Ravi will be on every month as usual. I am looking forward to sharing my 30 years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Crass Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598.
Hey, it's Dr. Ravi at Tradition Family Chiropractic. We are dedicated to serving you and your family with integrity, compassion, and innovative care through the most advanced chiropractic care ever in chiropractic history, encouraging your health and your family's health to its maximum potential on a regular basis. Call us today at 772-345-0060 or schedule online at traditionhealth.com for your free consultation.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
Welcome back to Joanne's World of Nutrition. Once again, here's your host, Joanne Seeger.
Hey, everyone. Boy, I hope you're listening to this episode. It's intense, but
It's a
really
keeper.
good.
Definitely.
Yes. Well, all of Burt's shows are keepers for sure. All right. So, Burt, you're really dropping a little bit of a bomb on me this morning. So I always knew, like we've discussed, that having too much acid in the human body creates a condition that welcomes cancer, heart disease, all the things that have always been killing us, real big, like you mentioned, strokes, things that are really scary, and sometimes we don't heed the warnings. So I love that you're mentioning doing the pH strips and just doing them once a week, so it's not a stressor each day. So I just want to clarify with people what these things are in case some of these terms are like what? What are they talking about? So the pH strips, basically, that Burt does make now, and they are available and very affordable, are so easy to use because they're like these little plastic strips that are very sturdy, and they have a color coding system. So after you have your scrape of your morning mucosal, you put that strip in there, and then, Burt, how long do you wait to get a result?
They're now so fast. We're saying that in 15 to 20 seconds you'll have a
accurate reading.
Accurate reading. You compare it to the closest color in the chart. Now, I have people say, well, it doesn't match any color exactly. It's like, well, no, it wouldn't make any sense to have just a continuous color band to try to match it to. So you find the one that's the closest to you, mark that down. When we say 7.1 to 7.5, it only shows color blocks for 7, 7.25, and 7.5 in that area.
Okay.
But the entire strip goes from the color chart goes from 4.5 to 9.0. Do you know why it doesn't go any further than that?
Because we can't survive after that.
That's the maximum living range. If you're below 4.5, you'd be dead within a day. If you're at 9.0, you're already dead. So that's the maximum living range. Now, to be ideally healthy, you want to have balance. Now, I have people that feel that they want to alkalize themselves as much as they possibly can, and so they over-alkalize. And that's really, there's about 1 out of 100 adults in the U.S. that are too alkaline, but most of the time it's because they're reading the books that say test the urine, and then they keep trying to pour more alkalinity into their body because their urine's in the acid range. Well, your urine should always be between 6.1 and 6.9. It should never be in the alkaline range. Now, I'm not a doctor, but you can go to your doctor, your general, or your kidney specialist, and they're going to let you know that if you're above 7, that's an indication that your kidneys may be failing. So,
okay.
If somebody...
Well, you said above, so if your urine, just to clarify, your urine. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't want to get anyone nervous.
And I probably shouldn't talk about urine, but as much as we say don't test the urine, people still do. I have people that call up and it's one of these shocking things, but I had a person say, okay, I've been working on my pH for like 6 months, and I go, well, that's a long time, but I'm finally in the alkaline range. I go, well, congratulations. They go, yes, but this morning my urine was 7.2, and I said, your urine? I said, stop it. Whatever you've been doing, just stop. Just stop. You, first of all, test your saliva, and then yes, 7.1 to 7.5 is great. By the time you're at 7.6, you're a little too alkaline, but it's not serious until you hit 8. But I've had people that have tested 8 or 8.25, and they start getting symptoms of being too alkaline, including unexplained diarrhea, unexplained vomiting, muscle aches, severe muscle aches, because the only way your body can fight being too alkaline is if you're too acidic, the body will start breaking down bones and teeth to release the calcium from the bones and teeth. As a matter of fact, we may have talked about this before, Joanne, but two sides of the same coin is acidosis and osteoporosis. It's the same coin. You just flip it, you look at one side, you have osteoporosis. Okay, well, then you have acidosis. Or the other one, I got tested, I have acidosis. Well, then you've already got osteoporosis because your body's main line of defense is to release calcium from the bones and teeth in order to try to get the acid level back up towards a more normal level so that you don't have heart attacks and strokes. So, or so that at least long-term you don't start going into diabetes and fibromyalgia and all of the chronic forms of acidosis. Now, when you become too alkaline, the only thing your body can do, it can't release calcium anymore because that's not going to bring the alkalinity down. It instead has to release acids. So where do you have acids? it's stored in protein. So your body will actually start to break down vital organs to release the amino acids, or it'll break down muscle tissue. So for people who say, I just keep having all these muscle pains all over and I don't know what it is, a lot of that is, or can be, that the body is starting to dissolve some of the muscles to release the amino acids to try to balance out. So if you can drink plenty of purified and distilled water, if you can increase the electricity in your body, electrical level, your body will pH balance itself. I mean, that's why Cell Power as a dietary supplement is so important. It doesn't directly affect pH. What it does is it's an energy source, and it helps bring electricity into all of the lymph fluid, all the blood, all of the clear fluids, and the blood, which is not a clear fluid. But it starts raise the electrical level so that the body can do its own pH balancing. It's like standing in the sunshine and letting the sun just hit your body, which increases electricity. It's like getting to bed early, like at 9 p.m. instead of staying up till midnight or 1 or 2.
All right.
It's
for
all
someone that
things.
woke up 3 hours earlier than me, boy, you're like on point and intense this morning. All right, so I'm going to back it up a bit, okay? Because in case we have some newbies that might not have heard you before. All right, so Cell Power is a liquid supplement, very affordable. It's a simple drop that you put, like Burt mentioned, in your water bottle. We prefer, and we always suggest, glass water bottles if possible, but whatever you need to do to get this product in you. And like Burt's mentioning, we talk about electricity and all this good stuff, but it's just to help give your body the tool it needs to regain its proper pH. It's super safe, been around a long time, and again, very, very good at helping correct the things that the body is just malfunctioning with because it doesn't have the right nutrients or the right tool. So Burt, I hope because we might pass some newbies, so you're throwing out lymphatic and pH and all this stuff, and they might be like, whoa, what is this all? So, all right, so Cell Power. So now I test myself Sunday morning, and I see like that orange, yellow, and I start freaking out because I remember the show. So at that point, tell me what's the first step I do?
If you're drinking less than a gallon of purified or distilled water a day, you start increasing your water gradually. I know a lot of people think, that's difficult. Now, really, most people just avoid drinking adequate amounts of water because they don't want to have to stop and find a restroom. But, you increase water because if you don't have enough water, your body doesn't have the basic material or ingredient it needs for pH balance. You cannot balance your pH if you're low on water. So what's interesting about this is that dehydration is also linked into severe cases of COVID-19 as well as mild cases when they first start. Dehydration. And a lot of times people say, I've noticed that my mouth is dry. Whoa, by the time your mouth is dry, you're not just dehydrated, you're severely dehydrated. And maybe we've talked about this before, but dehydration is now in the top 5 causes of death in the United States.
We definitely did not talk about this.
Okay.
I can't believe that.
It is in the same group with strokes, heart attacks, cancer. It's in the top 5.
Wow.
Out of every single cause of death, dehydration has moved to the top 5.
But it does make sense to me, Burt, because my clients, to get them to drink more water, it is so difficult. They'll come into the store at 2, 3 in the afternoon. I'll say, did you drink some water today? I had a cup of coffee, and that's it. It's like really difficult.
Yeah, see that, and they're thinking that a liquid is a liquid. And if that's really true, then you say, okay, well, did you wash your dishes? Oh, yeah, I filled the sink with coffee and I washed all my dishes and they were just great. No, to clean the inside of your body, you need water. Yep. I don't care that you can get, your body can extract water from fruits and vegetables and fruit juice and everything else, but it takes so much energy to extract the water out of those things to get to just straight H2O that you're going to be exhausted. So most of the time the body won't even try to extract water unless you're about to die. They won't even try to do it. But if you put in regular, plain, good, cleanest water you can get, not high alkaline water, not anything between 6.0 and 8.0 is an okay range. But if you're getting purified or distilled, it's going to be right next to 7.0. And you want to get as much as you can. Now, for the person that says, I haven't had any water, but I've had 1 cup of coffee, if it's an 8-ounce cup, that means that it's now pulled out as a diuretic 24 ounces of water that you already have. So you're now at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, that person is at minus 24 ounces for the day.
Right, exactly. And most people don't understand that. We won't go into the Google search on that, but yes, I explained that. So, all right, so we increase our water. Do you have a formula for if someone's 130 pounds or someone's 240 pounds, like how much water they should drink in their day?
No, not really. I mean, if you're not dehydrated at all and you have plenty of water, I mean, let's say that you've been doing a gallon of water intake per day every day for 5 weeks, 6 weeks in a row, then a lot of people will say, okay, you only need an ounce of water intake for every 2 pounds. So if you're 200 pounds, you only need to drink 100 ounces now instead of the 128, which is a gallon. But to start with, for the first 5 or 6 weeks, whether you're 90 pounds or 300, you want to be getting a minimum of a gallon of water a day. It has to do with creating a river inside of your body that will flush the poisons away.
Love that analogy. That's great. Okay.
You have to do it, and you can't create a river with saying what's the absolute minimum, that I can get by with. I mean, I don't understand exactly what that is. Sometimes people say water doesn't taste good, but again, one of the nice things about putting the cell power drops in your drinking water, which you can do, with all your water you drink throughout the day, or whether it's the super silica supplement, is that both of those make the water taste better. I have families that say my children would not drink water. They just would not like the taste, and as soon as I started putting cell power drops in it, they're like, oh yeah, Mom, can I have some more power water, is what they call it.
Yeah, and their body's craving probably what it's helping them with. But it is a nice flavor. It's like a real mild lemon lime. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm drinking it right now. All right, so Burt, they start drinking the water. They're putting the cell power drops, which is just like, say, 4 drops normally for most of the water bottles out there. And then, they do that all day long because, like you mentioned, a gallon is really not a lot per hour that you're awake. I mean, most people are awake at least 14 hours a day, so that's nothing. That's 8 ounces an hour. So they do that. They put the cell power drops. How, what you mentioned real quick, the silica, which is my second favorite product. So is that something they need to get in right away when they see that yellowy orange as well?
Not necessarily. What will happen is if you're doing 6 servings of the cell power per day, which gets you up to 3 quarts, and then you would just go ahead and have your 4th quart of water of the day just be plain water if you want it to be, or you can put other supplements in that the last 2 16-ounce glasses. But if you're doing 6 servings of cell power on a regular basis and testing your pH each week, we're finding that 998 people out of 1,000 will get into the pH balanced range within 4 to 10 weeks. Okay. And it is such a safe place to be is pH balanced. So if you're stuck and you're saying, look, I've done it and I'm up to 6 or 7 weeks and it's still not getting in the balanced range, sometimes people do need to have the super silica, because what it does is it helps assist the body in getting rid of heavy chemicals and heavy metals, which cause a more resistant acidosis.
Okay.
So, you've got acids that are trapped. There is a pH balancing guide. I think you've had it there at your store before.
I still have it, yeah.
Okay, it retails for $2 each. It is the number one most published, most sold guide or book on pH in the world. We're at 1.8 million copies that have gone out. I certainly didn't think when we started doing the first copies and getting them out to people that it would end up outselling all other books on pH, of which there's 260 different books that are written on balancing your pH, but this one is really simple. And I think that's the problem, is that sometimes a person looks at it and goes, oh, it's only 4 condensed pages. Well, it's 1,000 pages of information in 4 easy-to-read pages. And someone look at it and say, well, this sounds too simple. This can't be it.
Right.
It's like, well, just try it. Just do the 3 steps. There is a 3-step protocol on the bottom of the first page. And if you follow that 3-step protocol and it doesn't work for you, then call me up. Those are the phone calls I take, is somebody that has followed the whole thing. But you need to read it 3 times. First thing I do is I said, okay, well, repeat for me, please. I know it sounds funny, but what are the 3 steps of the protocol?
You can tell you're a father of 10. Yep. First, let me see if you're paying attention. All right. So we got the water, we got the cell power, and you mentioned, be patient with the body earlier in the show, which is, some people, like you mentioned, it's like 1 week. They want everything to be already shifted and changed. So 4 to 10 weeks to me is very fast, very reasonable, and I know the doctor we work with at the Wellness Center, he tells everyone 90 days for, everything. So you guys are right on the same path there. So now, as far as the causes of what's bringing them into that that bad range, that yellow-orange range that they're trying to correct. Can you give us some, maybe, I know they need to read the sheets 3 times, but can maybe the top 3 reasons someone would get into an acid condition? Because I know right now everyone's trying to stay away from even, the Omicron, that especially, it's a lot of people around me that, very, very mild, but they still have it. So can you help us understand what maybe in our life we're creating this condition?
Well, the number out of the 7 most acid-forming things that we do to ourselves, because I don't think any of these things somebody else is doing to us, but the most acid-forming substance that you can consume in your body is the coffee bean. Whether it's caffeinated or decaf coffee, it has 218 different acids in the coffee bean, none of which is compatible with the human body. It just isn't at all. So what happens is that it will acidify a person. For most people, to get into the acid range and get stuck there, even 1 cup of coffee a day will do that. Now,
Burt, is that why most people go to the bathroom after they drink coffee?
Yeah, it's a diuretic. It forces the water out of your system, which then makes it more difficult to breathe, which then, so much of the headaches that we associate with, I have a headache because, I'm addicted to caffeine and I haven't had my caffeine and so I'm having a headache. Well, okay, perhaps. But let's look at the fact that when you force water out of the body and your brain has less water inside of the cranium to support the brain and to keep the brain going, it has real pain. You end up with headaches because you're dehydrated. And dehydration, at its ultimate thing, would have a person screaming with the worst headache in the world. So all of these things that create acidity, number 2 would be after coffee, which is the worst on an acid-forming scale, which is not a pH scale, but on an acid-forming scale of how detrimental it is, from 1 to 10, coffee would be a 10. A 8 to 9 on that scale would be tobacco, and you don't have to smoke it to get cancer. I mean, if you just chew it, you'll get cancer a lot faster. So I always tell people, if that's your goal is to get cancer, well, don't smoke it. It might take you 20 years to get your cancer that you're after. So just chew it, and within a year or 2, you'll have cancer of the mouth and throat, and they'll have to cut out everything. That is from the acidity. The main thing that kills you in tobacco is the acidity. I'm not saying that the added nicotine and all the other things are not bad, but it's the fact that acidity just pushes a person, into a terrible range. The next would be alcohol in any form is like a 7 to an 8. At 5 on the scale would be black tea or Earl Grey tea or white tea, anything that has tannic acid in it.
Okay.
Tannic acid, which is used to tan leather. I can't believe that people are swallowing tannic acid down their esophagus, and then they can't understand why they've got all kinds of...
these great big sweet teas, especially
Yeah.
here locally.
You have all these stomach problems, and you can't figure out if you're basically trying to tan the inside of your, turn your inside of your stomach into leather, go figure that you have
you're
digestive
just a little
problems.
comedian this morning, aren't you?
But I guess I feel like with what the world is going through right now, Joanne, it's maybe time for me not to hold back.
I can
on what I've
tell.
been
I love
talking
it. This
about.
is your New Year's goal, isn't it?
Well,
I'm glad I slept well last night. Okay.
and I'm just saying, it's only a 5, meaning that it takes 2 cups of tea to do as much damage as 1 cup of coffee. So it's
And
only
usually
half
people
as dangerous.
consuming like 24 ounces in their sweet teas and getting refills.
Mhm.
So you're right to
Oh,
be this
yeah.
passionate
Iced
about it,
tea.
because I know a lot of healthy people that are like, well, I just have that 1 iced tea a day, but it's humongous.
Yeah. So,
okay.
so 24 ounces of iced tea has a dehydrating factor of -3, which means that you're now at 72 ounces of water has just been pushed out of your body. And generally, you didn't have the extra water to begin with.
Right.
So as that starts to happen, then you end up with dry tear ducts and dandruff, and before you know it, dry sinuses, and then a dry cough, and then dry lungs. And by the time you get to dry feet, the transformation to being mummified is almost complete.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
So it's okay, Burt. I love it. These are
No.
things I tell my clients, but I just, this is the reality. So, okay.
Well, and
sugar
we've
must
only
be on
mentioned-
your
we've
list
only
somewhere,
mentioned-
Burt. Where's sugar?
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying is that we've only talked about 4 out of 7. So then what
Okay.
you've got is the next one is carbonated beverages of any kind. If it's not natural carbonation that comes out of the spring that way, then what it is it's carbon dioxide, which what your body is struggling to get rid of through your lungs because it's a poison and it'll kill you. If you suffocate in a mine cave in, it's not because you ran out of oxygen, it's because you've been poisoned by too much carbon dioxide left, from your exhaling. So what happens is that carbon dioxide being pumped into, sodas and liquids and waters and everything else creates what scientists call carbonic acid. So you're drinking 100% acid, again, which is, you don't have to ask, well, is it an acid that the body likes? Now, there are good acids. There's essential fatty acids, like omega-3 fish oil or flaxseed oil. There's all of the good acids that you find in fresh citrus or in apple cider vinegar. All of these things are good acids, but the bad acids are the ones we're talking about right now, are the ones that are killing us literally. Before people say, oh, yeah, no, they're not killing us. Now you go to NIH, and what it's basically saying is that, yes, there's this vicious cycle between not enough oxygen in the body and acidosis. Okay. So the next one is sugar, and we're talking about table sugar. Everything except honey is acid forming. Only honey as a sweetener is completely slightly alkaline forming. And then the worst of all, even worse than coffee, and people that don't want to give up their coffee always feel good knowing about this. What's 3 times worse than coffee is bottled up, unresolved stress. So I know that a month ago you said, oh, it seems like Burt's so excited when we do these breathing exercises at the beginning of the show. It's like, yeah, saving people's lives.
I know, and people sometimes still roll their eyes when I tell them their stress is creating their dysfunction. It's like crazy.
And that's why they're talking about a vicious cycle in this article from the magazine Biology. The vicious cycle that we're talking about is that, do you think that that more Americans have more stress in the last 2.5 years than they did before?
Oh, just a little.
Okay, so with all of this extra stress, it creates acidity faster than almost anything. And yet, those deep breathing exercises, we do 3 in a row at the beginning of your show.
Yep.
If they do 10 at a time and do it at least twice a day, that alone will start to change their pH. But the only way you'll know that is to test your pH on a regular basis every week.
All right, Burt, so the time is flying. I have pen and paper now. NIH, August 2021. What was the title of it?
I'm sending you the link right
Awesome.
now.
All right, thank
your
you so
email,
much.
And the title is The Role of Acidosis in the Pathogenesis of Severe Forms of COVID-19.
All right, I'm definitely going to read that as soon as I get to the store. All right, so I want to leave. You know me, okay? I'm the glass is always half full girl. So everyone listening, please, these are simple tips. Anyone can do it. Deep breath work, drinking more water, adding cell power to your water. Burt is definitely going to come back on so we can talk about super silica, which I absolutely love. And Burt, I've been taking your circulation formula, and oh my gosh, like you promised, I feel the little tingling in my right fingertips. I mean, it's almost gone. Like, I barely feel it. It will perk its ugly head probably after I consume the wrong things, but just once a week versus every morning. So I always thank you for helping me, my family, get back on the right path. And you definitely taught me something new today, like you always do. So this is really a lot of very important but intense information. So I hope my listeners really do take your passionate advice, because I know you're a man that just wants to heal people, help people. So thank you, Burt.
Thank you, Joanne. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. Everyone, gosh, I think next week is Dr. Ravi. I can't wait to see him.
Yeah,
yes, I miss him.
Not since last year.
Yeah, I know. He moved to a new home, and he's been super busy at his practice. So Dr. Ravi will be on with us next week. Have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I know it's going to be something good. Everyone have a great one. Thank you so much.
Archives of Joanne's World of Nutrition can be found on YouTube. Go to WPSLTV.com to see what we've got on YouTube. Then you can binge watch some Joanne's World of Nutrition programs over and over again and keep your pH balance right. This, by the way, just so happens to be WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone. It's 11 o'clock.